Let it go. 얼어붙어 like whoa. 띵하고 어지러워. I see. 한여름에도 넌 겨울. Yeah, yeah. 너와 있을 때 I swear. 제가 먼저 zero 폭설한 그 childer. 꿈에도 I wasn't aware. 나만 빼고 넌 모두에게 참 친절해. 내 신감이 들어 단판이 태도 머릿속을 흔드니 ibuprofen 그만해 it's time to stop. 승부욕을 자극하는 style yeah. 알면서도 마음이 자꾸 내게 가. I'm 빠져버릴까. If you want me back I'll tell you I'm sorry. If you want me back I'll tell you stop trying. Yeah, you got me. Let it go. 얼어붙어 like whoa. 띵하고 어지러워. I see. 한여름에도 넌 겨울. Yeah, girl you cold-blooded. Yeah, girl you cold-blooded. Yeah. Girl you cold-blooded. Girl you cold-blooded. I'm like frozen 뭐야 모든 스트레스는 gotta let it go 했어. 속였던 데이팅 어플 다 깔아도 보았어. 반대가 끌린대 opposites attract. Don't know about me and you, yeah we fell into the cracks. Yeah 깎고 너네 no cap. 왜 난 안 보여 what's happening. 객관적일 수가 없이 이미 game white flag and waving fast. Yeah I'm leaving back but 말해도 너만 보면 나도 내 맘 I don't know 이건 love a relationship. 헷갈리기만 해 girl. I'll tell you I'm sorry. If you want me back I'll tell you stop trying. Yeah, you got me. Let it go. 얼어붙어 like whoa. 띵하고 어지러워. I see. 한여름에도 넌 겨울. Girl you cold-blooded. Let it go. 얼어붙어 like whoa. 띵하고 어지러워. I see. 한여름에도 넌 겨울. Girl you cold-blooded. Yeah, girl you cold-blooded. Yeah. Girl you cold-blooded. Girl you cold-blooded. Yeah, girl you cold-blooded. Yeah. Girl you cold-blooded. Girl you cold-blooded.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Sir Hill Speaks. It is good to see everybody. What's going on with you? I hope that you guys have had a sensational Wednesday. You guys are in for a treat, a fantastic show. But before we get into the meat, before we get into the show, do me a favor. Make sure you guys hit that like button on YouTube. And if you guys are watching from Facebook as well, hit the like button for the algorithm and let people know to come over here and join the Sir Hill Speaks podcast. All right. If you guys want to be extra fancy with it, I take a few moments and actually share this stream out. We're going to have a wonderful conversation with a provocative and intelligent and an insightful speaker, someone who is great, who's been coaching for years, who's licensed to do what she does. It's about to go down, and I want you guys not to miss it. So hit the like button on your way in, share this stream out. We are going to have an incredible show tonight. So let me tell you why I'm doing this show tonight. Is we talk a lot about relationships. We talk about this. If you guys are on Instagram or TikTok, YouTube or Facebook, you're on Twitter or even Threads, you guys see a surplus of relationship advice. So depending on what you believe, either you're going to hear somebody telling you to leave, you deserve better, or somebody's going to tell you just to stay. People are going to give you their perspective based off of their position in life. Well, tonight I want to have a more balanced conversation. And I want to address some of the real issues we see from someone who is an expert in her field. So tonight, we're going to start off real light, but the conversation is going to get deeper, and we're going to address some very important topics tonight. Without further ado, I want to bring up my guest. I saw her do a Facebook Live some time ago, and she was on there talking to wives because she has this regular conversation where she empowers wives on how to have productive marriages. And she listen, she addresses some real stuff. It ain't that cute. It's the real stuff. And I listened in, and I respected the fact that she was not just saying stuff to get attention or to get views. She was giving some real answers to some real questions that people deal with. And if you look at her on YouTube, you look at her on Instagram, look at her on TikTok, her advice is reaching hundreds of thousands of people. And so I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to experience this as well. Without further ado, everybody in the chat, show your love for the one and the only Dr. Gail Crowder is in the building.
Hey, hey, I'm just telling you, I was jamming to your opening song. I was getting my groove on. I was like, yeah, I love that. I absolutely love your opening song. So I was getting my groove on. So we might want to end dancing because I love to dance. But thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Everybody in the chat, show some love to Dr. Crowder. She's in the building tonight. Well, good. Thank you for being on. So we want to get into the conversation, but before we do, I'd like my audience to get a chance to know you and why you do what you do. So my first question for you is, how did you get into this line of coaching and talking about relationships, so on and so forth?
Well, this actually started with my husband. I literally used to be in the fashion industry, and I have dressed some of the best people on the red carpet. But one day, my behavior was absolutely horrendous. Me and Gail got married really, really young. And I came from a long line of boss women, a long line of single boss women that taught me that I can be, do, and accomplish absolutely anything. And I didn't need a man to do it. And so I came into my marriage very young. And my behavior literally, displayed the boss mentality. If Gil said go left, I was definitely going right. If he said don't buy it, I bought it twice. If he told me, we're going to do this weekend, I would, disappear so that wouldn't happen. When I say I was just off the chain, I was off the chain. And so how I got into this line of work was my husband actually told me, he's like, gee, your behavior is so out of control. He said, people get on these social media platforms and they act like everything is okay. But if you actually went live and told the truth about how you behave on a regular basis, you would be able to touch the world. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like you on there posting pictures of us grinning, but 5 minutes ago you just cussed me out, right? And so literally one day I was in my basement, and I was in a bad car accident, and literally I was in my basement and I went live. And I just start talking to wives about my behavior and how I treated my husband and how I talked to my husband and how I had spent us into debt and all the stuff. And I just spilled my guts. And literally women start getting on there and they were like, oh my God, thank you so much for being open and honest. And then men start coming on saying, wow, you're the first woman that is taking credit for her behavior. And literally that started me going live, talking. And then I went back to school and became a family therapist, and then went back to school for coaching, and then went back to school to become a licensed sexologist. And so literally my husband seen me doing what I'm doing now, and it's been almost 20 years.
That deserves a round of applause. That's an amazing story. And I think we need more like that. But look, before we get into this, I know we got questions, but so everybody has a coming to the mirror moment where they have to look at themselves, right? What was that coming to the mirror moment for you?
The coming to the mirror moment for me was when Gil packed up his stuff and left my behind. I never thought, my husband is so laid back and he's so unlike me, but he means what he says and says what he means. And one day, I used to talk to him horribly, and he used to tell me, if you can only take half of what you dish out. And literally one day he got tired, and I cussed him out, went to work. And when I got back within 4 hours, he had literally moved everything out of our home. And I thought that we had been robbed. And when I walked into the kitchen, it was a plate with a knife and fork. And he said, if you could only take half of what you dish out, I'm not coming back until you say you're sorry and truly mean it. And that was the come to Jesus moment, because I realized, for one, he was an amazing guy. For two, he had had enough. And for three, that I was out of control. And so that was the come to Jesus moment for me, to realize that I couldn't take what I was dishing out, that I needed to take credit for my behavior, and that the teachings that I had received from my grandmother, my mother, and all the people, the women in my life, I didn't want to end up like them. And so I needed to check my behavior. So I went and got myself some counseling. That was my aha, come to the Jesus, look in the mirror moment.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Everybody in the chat, y'all hit the like button. This is great stuff. This is good stuff. So let's get into the meat of the conversation.
Okay.
So in 2023, let's just get right down to it. Do women see marriage as a benefit?
Women see marriage as a benefit only if they're lonely and they're not achieving and getting the accolades that they need from somewhere else. And the reason why I say that is because I have single women that I get the opportunity to talk to all the time, who have achieved, financial status. They have their own house, their own cars, their own things, right? But they don't have that companion that checks on them to see if they're sick. They don't have someone to, lay down with at night and tell them that they love them and those kind of things. So to me, that's a two-part answer. But for the most part, I think every woman and every man wants to find true love. The question becomes is are you willing to wait for it and to work for it? And so I think that a lot of women do find being married and being in a committed relationship, the benefits of it. But a lot of times now society is saying, if he doesn't meet this, or if he doesn't make this, or if he doesn't drive this, or if he is not achieving this, then he's the wrong person. Right. And I bear to differ, because I would rather be with a man that does not have all of those accolades, but treats me like a lady and talks to me like a human being. And I'm not, worried about if he has 5 other women that he's dealing with, because the single status now is, you're Miss Tuesday and I deal with you on Tuesday, and don't call me the rest of the week because that's not your day. Right. So it's all of these dynamics that are going on in our society. But I think for the most part, most women do want to be married. They do want to be in a committed relationship, and they do want to be loved.
So let's stay there for a quick second. So let's say a woman, because here's the issue that a lot of people, particularly men who want to be with a woman, see. So let's say she is degreed, she's educated, she's established. And let's say she's earning more than the typical, woman and man for that part.
Sure.
A lot of women don't want a man who either earns less than she earns or hasn't attained her level of education. So do you think that in today's world that a woman is able to see a man's true character, outside of what he earns, particularly if he earns, let's say 20 to 25,000 less than her and hasn't attained her educational status?
And to me, we shoot ourselves in the foot when we do that, because if you make $10 and he makes $5, when he gets under one roof, there's $15 going into the account. And the thing is that a lot of times women do discount men because they don't have the education, they don't have all of those different kind of things. And to me, you are narrowing your pool down so small that you're going to probably end up alone. And we have to stop looking at that. And I used to do this thing for single women called Seal the Deal. And I used to, tell every woman in the room, stand up that wants a man 6 foot and over. Every woman stand up that wants a man that has, a bachelor's degree. And all the women would stand up. And I said, see, all of you ladies are competing for one man. Every man is not going to have all of those credentials. But then you turn around and say you want a man that is a protector. You want a man that is a praying man. You want a man that goes to work every day. You want a man that does all of these different kind of things. Your local janitor that knows how to manage his money, that's going to treat you like a lady, that's going to open the door for you and do all the things that you want to do, might be the man that God has for you, but he doesn't have all the education and all those things. But you're going to disregard him because he keeps your office clean every day. And so we have to stop looking at people for what society says is successful and look at the person and look at the person's heart.
That's deep. Chat, that's deep.
So it is deep.
I'm gonna read this. The reason why this is because in most men's experience, that never happens. Like there are quality men, and so many men are almost killing themselves trying to, attain a certain, social status, make a certain amount of money because they believe, well, we've been trained to believe that if you just make $100,000 and above, you know what I mean? Just go to the gym, like all these external things that you're going to finally get a woman. And a lot of women seem to be waiting for a man at the finish line. And so I guess my question is, how do you get to that place, or how do women get to that place where they can see a man's intrinsic value and not determine his value based off of his stuff?
And see, because we need to quit looking at the external and start seeking the internal. And a lot of times it's because we want to be, as women, we want to be able to say, oh, I met this guy that hollered at me. He was driving a BMW and he's an executive at, whatever, right? But that's just a conversation, because most of the time, if he's still single, you're going to end up being Miss Tuesday or Miss Thursday or Miss Wednesday, because there's a pool of women that he can juggle because he knows that you guys are desperate. How do you stop this? You have to search within yourself and say, you know what? I want a man that can just be mine. I'm worth a man that's just mine. I'm not saying get a man that does not have a job, but we need to quit putting titles and things before people, right? Because I know a lot of really good guys that are hardworking, that want to be in committed relationships, but they, like you said, they don't have the education or whatever. And they're like, Dr. Gail, I just want a really nice woman that I can take to the movies, that I can travel with or whatever. But when you introduce them to a woman that's shallow, right? That's shallow, that is looking to impress her friends and not impress herself, they don't fit the bill. And I try to tell women, listen, it's hard out there, right? When I met my husband, I was making more money than him. I had a better job or whatever. But let me just tell you how tables turned. He makes 3 times more money than I make now. But I seen his heart. I wasn't looking for someone to take care of me because, again, I had a different mentality, right? I wanted a man that was going to love me beyond me. I wanted a man that was going to take care of me when I couldn't lift my head up off the pillow. I knew that at a very young age. So I had to realize that God gave me exactly what I asked for. But at the time, I just wasn't equipped to handle it, because even though he was young, he had all the qualities. So I quit looking at the dollar amount and start looking at his heart. And so many women miss men with really good hearts because they don't have the titles.
Everybody in the chat, let's let that breathe for a minute. Let's let it breathe for a second. That was heavy. That was heavy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper. Shout out to the actual King Smith with the $10 super chat. He says, showing positive males some love on these YouTube streets. Appreciate you, man. Dr. Gail, let's take this conversation a little bit deeper.
Okay.
So, and I'm going to be doing a show about this on Friday, but I want to ask you this. In terms of relationship, is unconditional love, is that realistic in romantic relationships? Unconditional love.
I believe that you can love somebody, but we're human beings, and we come with conditions. I'm being 100% open and honest. I have been married to Gil 36 years, but everything is conditional, right? You know, if he tells me I'm beautiful when I'm having a bad day, right? And if he doesn't, then I'm like, oh, you know, maybe I'm not as beautiful. Everything comes with condition. Can you have unconditional love in this day and time? I believe that you have to work towards that. I don't think that is just a magic yes or no. And I'm being open and honest with you, because everything that we do has some kind of conditions to it. Everything. And so for love, can you be in love with someone where you forgive them and you want it to work and all of those kind of things? But everybody has a breaking point. So my answer to that is yes and no. And I know that's not a concrete answer, but life is conditional. And so for me, the answer is yes and no, because everybody brings something different to the table. Am I a hopeless romantic? Yes. Do I believe that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with Gil? Absolutely. But do I have some conditions? Absolutely, I do. Right. And one of my conditions, and I'll just say it, is like, you know, if you ever think you're going to, you know, say, oh, I want to rock with a man and be with you too, that's a condition that is a deal breaker for me, right? Some people can rock like that. I just don't. You understand what I mean? So that's the reason why I'm saying it's a yes and no answer. And only those two people that's in that particular relationship have to establish that. That's just the way I feel. You know, if you talk to, you know, an older generation, they will say love is unconditional. Now, when it comes to, you know, I guess our children and our parents and our family members, it's still conditional, right? So I just think that it's a yes and no answer. And those two people have to forge that relationship and figure out if it's unconditional for them.
Excellent. All right, everybody, we're getting ready to pivot this conversation. This show's about to take a turn. So in relationships, this is where so many people have difficulties because they can't simply be honest, right? If he says something and she ain't ready to receive it, or vice versa, a huge blow up ensues. So let's start here. Men are visual. What should a man do when he is no longer visually stimulated by the woman in his life? How does he approach that? What does he do?
Again, the grass is greener where you water it. Okay. And I try to tell women all the time, and I trust me, I take hits all the time because you guys are visual, right? And 99.99% of the time, the reason why you ended up with your significant other is because you seen them first, not because of the job they were doing, but you visually seen them and you were like, oh, she's fine or he's handsome, right? But if you're dealing with a spouse or a significant other that you're no longer attracted to because they either gained weight, lost weight, or whatever, right? My thoughts is have a conversation with them. And what do I mean by have a conversation with them? It doesn't need to look like you done got fat. You're not attracted to, I'm not attracted to you anymore. That's not the way to approach it. It actually hurts the person. And at one point in time, you was attracted to them and you probably still love them. So it's a better way to approach it. And especially with women, because women, we internalize things, and trust and believe me, we know men when we have gained, we know when we have lost, and we know when we're not looking our best. So have a conversation. Hey, honey, you know, I'm really working on getting healthy. I know that you either just had a baby or your job, you're not moving as much. Would you like to start working out? Would you know, I want to, you know, can we start eating healthier meals? However that looks for you, just don't go for the jugular and kill her self-esteem. Because again, we as women want to stay beautiful for you. We really do. Right. But again, just like anything in life, we can become complacent. We can think, oh, I got him now, I don't need to work as hard. And I tell women all the time, you got to do what you did to get them and 10 times more to keep them. Right. And so for me, I do regular check-ins with Mr. Crowder. Hey, how am I looking? Right. Is everything working right? Am I looking visually stimulating to you? Do you like this kind of color on me? However that works out, because I'm secure with myself. Have I always been secure with myself? The answer is no, but I'm ready to hear that. But he doesn't do the blow like he probably would have in our 20s, right? He'd be like, yeah, gee, 5 pounds, we can work it out. We'll go down in the basement, work it out or whatever, and I'm good with that. But yes, women need to be told when they're not visually stimulating to their spouses or their significant other. It's just a way to do it. And I think that you have to be able to have other conversations that lead up to that. If you're not having meaningful conversations just on a regular about everyday things, and you just bring that conversation to her, it's not going to fare well for you. But if your communication, your lines of communication is good, in a good space, then I think she can handle it better than if the communication is not there.
So I've got a
Am I
question.
making sense?
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point. So, but I've got a question. So you said women know. So why do wives wait for, why do women wait for men to say something? Because the truth is, most men would rather not have to, risk potential conflict over something you already know.
Well, let me just tell you this. It's a lot of pressure being a woman these days. Okay. I'm just being honest. It's a whole lot of pressure being a woman these days because social media has taken over, right? And one day big boobs are in, the next day big butts are in, the next day small waist is in, next day long hair is in, the next day short hair is in, next day blonde hair is in. Like all of these things are going on, right? And if you're not able to keep up, if you are not confident in yourself, if you feel that I can't achieve this look, it just becomes overwhelming to a woman. I'm being honest. And then the second thing is that why do we wait for you to have to say something? Because again, in life we become complacent. You never know if she's stressed out at work or stressed out with the kids. She didn't have, she has a hormone imbalance. A lot of times after we have children, we have hormone imbalance that are not attended to, so we begin to gain weight, right? And we don't understand why we're gaining weight, even though we might be eating healthy. Our bodies are just not bouncing back. It could be so many different reasons why things are going on. It could be that she's depressed and she hasn't said it to her significant other. And so, if you're not having conversations, you wouldn't know that, right? And so she's just thinking, he ain't said nothing. I know I can't fit into this dress anymore. I'm just going to buy a bigger dress and keep it moving. And it just becomes a thing, right? Until she didn't put on another 25 pounds and you still haven't said anything. If you would have addressed it at 5 pounds, it's easier for her to get it off than it is at 20 pounds. And I understand that you might not want to address it, but to me, if you're having conversations all the time outside of the bedroom, you should be able to address anything. You should be living in the household with your best friend. And
To that
you
point,
can communicate through anything.
that's a really good point. So I think the issue that men are having, I know me, I am a very direct person. Like I don't know how to. Well, I'm learning. There's a certain way you say stuff. Like you can't just be like, "Hey, boom, there it is."
You're
For
fat.
everybody.
You can't say that. That's not nice.
But here's the thing, though. Like sometimes a lot of men get is if he says that, it doesn't matter how he says it. If she's not ready to hear it, it's going to be a conflict anyway.
Correct.
So how do we get our women to understand that a man caring about your health is a love language by itself?
Well, the thing is that again, anybody, I don't care if you're a woman or a man, who wants to hear that, for one, you're not attracted, you're not attracted to them anyway, that you gain weight or whatever. And like I said, you just don't gain weight overnight, right? Every day we're putting on clothes. Every day we're putting on clothes. So we know if we're not able to fit our clothes, just like a man knows if he's not able to fit our clothes, right? And so the thing is that you have to get to the root cause of where the weight is coming from and why she is not addressing the weight, right? For me, I used to suffer from migraine headaches really, really bad. And so normally I swing between a size 8 and a 10. That is the normal Gail, right? And so whenever I was on my steroids, of course I topped out at a 10 because I was retaining water, right? And but I would have the conversation with Gil like, I'm back on these steroids, and he's like, I can tell, right? But we was having meaningful conversations. Why are you laughing? He would just say, I could
I
tell.
could tell.
Yeah, I could tell
Oh,
because
man.
but it wasn't something that was negative. It was because we was having conversations just in general as in life, right? So it was like I was able to understand what was going on with my body. He could tell because if I wasn't wearing these certain jeans or these certain kind of skirts or whatever, I was wearing my size 10 stuff. He could tell, right? But again, it's because we were having meaningful conversations just in general in our life. The problem comes where women feel attacked and feel like you're not attracted to them is if you guys are not having conversations about anything and then all of a sudden you say, look like you didn't put on some weight.
So
That's when you feel attacked.
Yeah. So
that's when you feel like, okay, where did that come from?
Yep, I think that's a good point. Are those in the chat? You guys, is this making sense, guys? Are you guys enjoying this? I think what men really are looking for from women is, there's some personality types where they don't want to have to be told what they need to do. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want anybody to have to tell. I think most men want their women like that, where be proactive about it. Like, just be considerate because, the way a woman represents her man and the way that she conducts herself directly impacts whether or not he's respected or not. And I think it's something that most men want from women, to be proactive about your weight. It matters. And I'll say this other thing. I do think that a lot of women are so focused on what, the external environment is telling them to think and feel about themselves, that sometimes they care more about the outside than they care about their man. And if they focus on what their man want, most men want their women to be natural, healthy, and they will work and provide, honesty for that. So I guess there's a question in here. Why is it that women seem to be focused on external validation and attention, and they don't give in a lot of cases, they don't give that attention to their own man?
And I'm thinking because when we're out in public, and you said when we're out in public, it's natural for if a woman comes by or we see a woman that fits what society say is beautiful, right? At that time, and you glance at that, she's already thinking, I don't fit that mold. And the question becomes is that yes, we understand that you want us to stay physically fit, appealing, and all of those kind of things. But at the end of the day, you want this person to be able to be on your arm and you be okay with that. The question becomes, in our eyes, are you doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing as my husband? Being a provider, being a protector, being faithful, all of those things. Are you doing those things too? Because what happens, and I see this a lot in my practice, I probably let myself go, but he's not doing X, Y, and Z either. So if he's not doing this, why should I do this? Am I making sense?
I hear that too. Now, again, I tell that's an excuse, but it is something that is being said. I agree with that.
It is an excuse, but it's one that most people can justify why they're not doing their part in the relationship to stay pleasingly appealing to their spouse. And it is not a good excuse, but that's what I hear all the time.
Yep.
And that's what most people go to. Well, you can point the finger at me. Yes, I probably put on some pounds, but I'm still cooking for you. I'm still cleaning for you. I'm still having sex with you. I'm still doing this. What are you doing for me? And if you start doing this for me, then I will lose weight for you. Is that right? The answer is no, but it's happening all the time. And so to answer your question, that is a hard one. Why we allow ourselves to get complacent and let ourselves go, knowing that you guys are visual and we should try better. The answer is yes. But again, if you talk to a wife that has let herself go and her husband has approached her about that and it did not go well, I guarantee you she's probably going to point out all the things that he's not doing that he should be doing to stay, appealing to her as well. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen.
Chad, if you guys agree with Dr. Gail spoke a fact. That's what most men, what's interesting about what you said is a man can't say that. A man can't be like, if you were more of a wife, if you were more of a loving friend, then I would provide better, or I would stay in shape, or I would be a better protector. You know what I mean? Like, if you just reverse it, you never hear it on the other side. And so it's interesting.
No, you don't.
Yep.
But I'm telling you what the women will say if you basically if she feels attacked about her weight or not taking care of herself.
Yep.
That's what she will say.
The Quiet Storm says sex is a great workout. Break it down for your man and burn those calories. Absolutely right.
You can burn about 200 calories in a really good sex. I know those facts.
Absolutely. A shout out to Andrew Walker. He says it is pure pressure from your own fellow women. Mm-hmm. I can speak from a male perspective and tell you that most men will enjoy the one their heart goes to. All these fashion and adjustments to the body are to impress other women.
Yep.
I salute you, Andrew Walker. It's been a long time, sir. Glad that you're here. Good to see you. And thank you so much for the super chat. Mm-hmm. All right, Dr. Gail, I think it's time to get into some real stuff.
Okay.
All right, guys. So she fell in love with him because he was fun. Now he's boring and is always working. She's contemplating cheating. She's contemplating walking away. What does she do now that he used to be fun, but he's boring and works all the time?
See, this is what gets me about women, and I'm a woman. I have, there's two different spectrums. Either he don't work enough and he's not providing enough, or he's working too much and she's sitting at home and she's miserable and upset. The question becomes is that you got to help him find a balance, because some men are all or nothing, right? And if you're creating an environment where he wants to come home, he wants to spend time with you, I'm telling you, men will make time for what they want to make time for. So the question is you need to reevaluate, am I setting an environment where he wants to come home and be with me?
Whoa, Dr. Gail, hold on a second. Huh? Now, hold on a second. So are you saying that in cases like this, part of the responsibility as a woman is to set an environment to where he wants to come and be home?
Absolutely. Because we definitely set the temperature in our household. We do. And sometimes men who are workaholics, especially if you guys been married for any time and he's picked up all of these shifts, either he's feeling pressure from you financially to be able to provide, one, and you probably have told him we got all these bills and whatever, so he's feeling the pressure. That's number one. Or number two is that you have created such a hostile environment with your attitude, how you show up, how you talk, all of these things, that he'd rather be at work than to be home with you. And I'm not saying that's in all cases. What I'm saying is you need to evaluate, am I the root cause of why he's working so much? Do we really need the finances that way? Or can we find a balance? Now, am I saying that that he should just be a workaholic and not pay you any attention? The answer is absolutely no. What I'm saying is you need to evaluate that and figure out, am I the reason why he's working so much? Or is it that I need to change how I show up when he comes home, set the environment where we can have fun, go on date nights, laugh, talk, watch movies, do whatever we used to do that brought us together in the first place, right?
You know what? I'm really glad you're saying this, and I'm going to tell you why. Because we don't hear that enough. We typically hear a man, if he's making the right environment for her, if he makes her feel safe, if he makes her feel protected, if he makes her feel loved, then she'll give him this stuff. And I don't think people understand that men want something too. And that environment, like you hit the nail on the head. Most workaholics are working. It's a reason why. And a man, because a man don't want to spend his life chasing money and not enjoying the person he's making a life for. So you hit it on the head. But how do we get more of our women to understand that they control the atmosphere, and how they create the atmosphere really has an impact on their man wanting to be there with her?
Well, the thing is that you have to evaluate the situation. And the thing is that if you're, as soon as he comes in, if you're bombarding him with all the things that went wrong, the kids issue, your issue, all the things that went, everything that's going on, it's like, wow, like this is walking into Fort Knox, right? And I can speak that because I used to create that environment, right? I used to create the environment where it was like, Jesus, I can't even come and put down my, my backpack before you didn't unload it, right? And so at the end of the day, you have to take credit for where you are. And it's nothing wrong with asking the question, honey, I want to spend time with you. What can we do different, or what can I do different to make you want to do that? Because again, it's a question. And allow him to answer and be prepared for the answer. When Gail told me, gee, if you could just meet me at the door with 1,000 things that went on through the day, with 1,000 questions, and let me put my backpack down, go pee, and get myself together. No, seriously, this was years ago. I didn't realize I was doing that. And so he was working more and more and more. It wasn't about the money. It was about like getting peace of mind. And so I don't ever tell people something that I have not conquered in my own marriage. I don't counsel anything I haven't conquered in my own marriage, because I believe life application is the best change, right? And so if a man is working and it's not all financial, right? Because again, you don't want be in a relationship where he's working himself to death. How is he supposed to enjoy the fruits of his labor? And you got in a relationship because you didn't want to be alone all the time. Mm-hmm. So you have to start looking within yourself and say, have I created an environment where my significant other, my husband, does not want to come home? You got to start with yourself and ask the question. Again, to me, if you can communicate effectively, you can get through anything. And ask the question, honey, are you working so much because you don't want to come home because I have created a hostile, crazy environment that you just want to stay away from? And be prepared for the answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Gail is the real deal, y'all. Are you guys enjoying this conversation? If you want to show some love in the chat, this is good stuff. I want to play the super chat song for our super chatters in the building. The actual King Smith, $10. Andrew Walker. I want to give an honorable mention to the Quiet Storm, who says, I sweat them edges out. Much respect to you. I'm going to play the super chat song, pick it up. And then once we get back, we're going to take this conversation to a different place. Where is it at?
Pick it up, super chat. Pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Ooh, I've been on the flex since flex zone. Neighborhood all in your eardrums. I ain't never scared like Bone Crush. Boy, I got God, don't fear none. My line busy, take no calls. Feels like I don't have no flaws. Snakes in the grass, cut those off. Yo, squad shitty, my bros raw.
So Dr. Gail, I saw a question that came up in the chat, which ties into what we're getting ready to talk about. And this comes from Azrael. He says, also, actually, let me go to the first one. He says, where's that comment at? He says, can you talk about sexual chemistry? There's some women I click with in terms of arousal, and they won't be drop dead gorgeous, but then there will be women that were pretty, but the sex was off. So the question that I want to ask that ties into this is sexual compatibility a thing?
Absolutely. It is a thing, but it's also something that can be created, right? There's also it's something that could be created. And sometimes I tell couples, especially if they get married or they're in a relationship and one person's very experienced and the other one is not experienced, I say look at it as a slate that you're able to write a story together, right? And so with the young man that was saying sometimes he, have women that are not as attractive, but their sex game is higher than the ones that he's, more attracted to. The thing is that happens in every area of our life, right? So my thoughts is yes, you can be compatible, but you can also learn how to please your mate as well as you go along. But you have to be open to learning new things, be open to trying new things, and do the research. We research everything else. And if you want to learn how to please your partner, you're going to do the research and you're going to try new things. And that's, another reason why I got into doing what I do, is because so many couples get stagnant and they keep doing the same exact thing. They don't want to try anything new. And with what I do as a licensed sexologist, I teach them how to bring new things into their bedrooms. Sex toys. I get, oh, you're a Christian, why do you need a sex toy? Well, sex toys have a lot of benefits for it, and we're not going to go into that. But it's so many different things that you can do to become more sexual compatible with your spouse. And it's a learned behavior, and it's something that you need to be open to explore. So the answer is yes.
All right. Absolutely. So we're getting ready to go deeper. So here we go, everybody. So the wife says she got married to her man, and he's not packing the way that she would prefer, and it's impacting them. Can they do something about this, or is this a cause for divorce?
Absolutely not a cause for divorce. Absolutely. When she said he's not packing, let me just tell you, if she's talking about size, most men are not as big as they come off to. The average man's penis erect is 6 inches. That's the average. I'm just giving you statistics, right? Can she teach him how to please her? Absolutely. The question it becomes is, does she know what pleases her? Because again, we go into a lot of these situations thinking that you guys should know. And when it doesn't happen the way we want it to happen, then we say, oh, he wasn't good in bed, or my husband's not pleasing me sexually. But if I ask you the question, what are your pleasure points? Most women can't answer that. Right? If I talk to a man and I say, do you know how to please your woman? You're going to automatically say yes. And the reason why you're going to say yes is because you only know what you tried with another woman that sent her, what your boys say works, or what you have seen on TV. But most men don't have a conversation with their woman and say, tell me how to please you. And the reason why you don't is because we are not able to tell you what we want. And so it becomes this dynamic. But for the wife that wants to leave her husband, the answer is no. Teach him how to please you. And as long as you have not killed his self-esteem and you have not created performance anxiety, he wants to please you sexually. So keep trying.
Wow. Shout out to the
What you laughing at these comments?
Yeah, shout out to the Quiet Storms. He says, buy backup chandelier. So I tell them all the time, when it comes to love making, when you're married, you can swing from the chandelier. So he says, one of the ways to keep it spicy is to buy backup chandeliers. Much love, Quiet Storm. That took me out. So let's reverse it. A man says his wife doesn't please him. She won't, she won't give him, won't give him the oral. It's just
Mhm.
straight dictionary. And maybe if she's feeling, naughty, she may, maybe a different position. And so
Mhm.
he's not being pleased. Is that a cause for a divorce as well?
Absolutely not. You need to get to the root cause of why she is not so sexually fluid. You have to realize that a lot of girls grow up, right? And especially if they went to church, that good girls don't do those kind of things, right? So it could be culture. It could be that she has experienced some sexual trauma, right? And in doing any of those acts might trigger something like that. And so when you're dealing with a woman that is not sexually free, you have to get to the root cause of what's stifling her. And she could have been taught that the missionary position is the only position that you should do in your marriage. And if your husband tries to get you to, he didn't looked at porn. You never know what is been taught to little girls. It's a lot different dealing with women who are struggling when it comes to pleasing their spouses sexually than it is with men. And it's because it could be cultural. It could be that there was some sexual trauma that she has never addressed with her spouse. It could be a religious hold up. It could be that she has tried in the past has been painful and she just didn't want to tell him. It could be so many different things when it comes to that is stifling her from wanting to try new things and do new things. And again, that's the reason why I do what I do, because I can help her really get to the root cause of why she only wants to do missionary. Was it painful doing these other positions? All of those kind of things can play a part in why a woman is stifled.
So let me ask this other question. So let's say that they started doing everything when they met. Again, if
Mhm.
you married, get your life right. Get married first. Now, but let's say they were married, they was doing everything, and they swinging from the chandeliers. I mean, they swinging from ceiling fans. I mean, they getting it in. I mean, whatever they want to do.
Okay.
They get married, and then all the freakiness that they were doing before that goes out the window. Like, how do
Uh-huh.
you address that?
Well, you need to get to the root cause, because again, every woman that has a husband or a man wants to please them sexually, just like you guys want to please us sexually. What is the root cause of why she has become stifled? Right. And it could be something so simple. It could be that it's painful. And when she has told him it's painful, he's like, well, you just need to deal with it. And she just internalized that. So she's like, I'm not going to put myself in those positions anymore. It could be a hormone drop. It could be that she doesn't even know why it's going on. It could be after a baby. I mean, there's so many different reasons that would make a woman go from, swinging from the ceiling to wanting to only do missionary. Was giving him fellatio, which is blowjobs, that to not doing that again. You never know what it is. It could be that he gave her, thrush in her mouth and she didn't want to tell him that. It could be all of these different things that she could be dealing with, especially for this married woman who was
Doc,
swinging from the ceilings and then
doc,
decided to go
Dr.
ahead.
Gail,
Yeah.
you said gave him what? Gave he
Thrush.
gave
Thrush.
he,
It's like a STD in the mouth, where you get like you get this, it looks like really bad chapped lips, but it affects the inside of your mouth. And sometimes it's like a yeast infection that can come in your mouth. It's so many different things that can happen if you're giving fellatio.
fellas, if I find out y'all doing this, I'm gonna do a whole show road. So how does this happen? This is a very interesting. How does that happen?
You can get thrush by giving it's like a yeast infection that can happen if you give fellatio to your spouse and they have not cleaned themselves really well. They have a STD that they have not been treated. It could be so many different things that happen when it comes to that. And At my conference, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I have a class called The Show, and it's a hands-on fellatio class because I understand that that's what men like. But I'm a professional, so I'm going to teach them how to do it right. I'm going to teach them how to do it safely. And so, trust me, I take hits for doing that in my conference as well. But I want women to really understand that it's not a bad thing, but you need to learn to do it correctly as well.
So, men, if you're out there giving your woman thrash, there's a special announcement that I want to send to you.
Stop it. Get some help.
All right. So, Dr. Gail, I want to take this a little bit deeper. So here's the thing. So for women, is sex just sex? Can it just be that? No strings attached?
Absolutely not. And let me just tell you this. And the reason why I say we was not created just to have sex. And, you know, in 2013, I went out to Los Angeles and the video is up, and I took the time to, you know, speak to a prostitute, a stripper, and a porn star. And I did that because I wanted to understand what was so appealing to about them to people, you know, to our husbands and stuff like that. And I would say out of every one of those workers, right, all of them said that they couldn't do what they did sober. They had to have some kind of something to alter them. And so for women, it's just not sex, right? Even the prostitute said, you know, I have to have a couple of drinks or whatever because I don't want to, you know, because I'm giving a part of myself to that person that I don't even know, and I don't really want to remember, right? And so we was not created just to have multiple sex partners. We just was not, right? And so if a woman tells you I'm just sleeping with you or whatever, you know, it's not true. And so sex is just not sex for us. We, you know, if we are thinking that we're going to get into a committed relationship, we have some feelings behind it. And that's the reason why if you guys don't call or you don't check in on us or whatever, after a while, we begin to feel a certain type of way because we feel that we was used. And that's just being honest. Now there are going to be some women like, I can just do it any kind of way. Yeah, it's because you have lost who you are, and that is not true. You're lying to yourself. Okay.
So that's a good point. So how do we get here in 2023 where it's just so casual? Hookup culture is a real thing. So how do we get here? So if it means something, why is it treated like it doesn't, particularly for women? And then there's a comparison. Here's the comparison. If men can do it, then why can't I? Like, how do we get here if it matters?
It really does. It does. And let me just tell you, everything that you see on the surface is not so, right? If you have a woman being like, you know, saying, I can just screw any man I want because I don't really need a man in my life. You know, I just get mine and go on about my business. She has some issues going on. And she's just saying that out of her mouth. But in the end, she's probably crying every night, wanting to know why she can't be loved, why nobody wants her, why she can't be in a committed relationship, and all those kind of things. So everything that you see that's shining ain't really gold. I'm just being honest with you. And we need to stop using sex as just something that it is. It was created for a purpose, right? It was created to be between two people who love each other, who care about each other, and those kind of things. Now, I don't knock people who make their hustle doing whatever they do. But at the end of the day, when I went and spoke to those ladies, they all said, we can't do this sober because we was not created to do what we do. And we do, and they were all doing it for different reasons. Okay.
So you know what, Dr. Gail? So everybody in the chat, this is Dr. Gail, a sexologist. You guys, if you hear my dog in the background, my apologies. What I typically hear is the conversation about body count. So it's a really popular topic because
yes,
a lot of women are saying, you know, a man shouldn't care about what a woman has done with her past. And most men are saying, we do care about your past because statistically and based off of research, the more partners a woman has, the less likely she is to be happy with her man.
Absolutely.
Do men have a valid reason to be concerned with this?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because what people fail to realize is if you have a high body count and she has you're sleeping with everybody that they didn't slept with. I don't care what you say. You have slept with everybody that they slept with, and anything that, because we're receivers. You're the giver and we're receivers. So anytime we receive a man into our body, we're receiving you into our bodies. So yes, that and like I said, we was not created to have multiple partners. We just was not created that way. And so when you go back and you look at, as you age, all of those things can come into play if with different sicknesses and diseases and things that you might not even be aware of, that might not manifest till well into your 60s and 70s and 80s, and it's because of your behavior long time ago, right? And you can't even track it back. So having a high body count or whatever, you need to get to the root cause of why you're allowing yourself to be used that way. You're worth more than just having a body count and thinking it's cute. It's not, especially for a woman. Especially for a woman.
Excellent stuff. Shout out to Andre Dale. He says, men and women, please soak. No string sense, please. Absolutely, Dale. I appreciate the comment. You're absolutely right about
Dr. Gail's morals and values were 25 years ago. Actually, they were the same, pretty much. They were pretty much the same because, again, let me tell you, before I got married, and I'm very transparent and open, I only had 2 sexual partners before I married my husband. And I'm being open and honest because, again, to me, I was worth more. And the 2 sexual partners I had before my husband, I was in long-term relationships with them. It wasn't just, whatever. Even though I was young, I knew my worth, and I knew that I just was not that girl that was going to be sleeping around. So yeah, my morals and my values, have they changed and grown? Absolutely. But at the core of who I am, I value Gail and I value my body.
And Dr. Gail, just so our audience who just came in know, how many years have you been married to your husband?
36 years. And we got married in our teens. So and the thing is that I have grown sons, and I teach them the same thing. They're nice looking fellas. They're doing their own thing, but I also tell them, you treat a woman how you want somebody to treat your daughters, right? And they don't have kids, but I always want them to realize that you like you said, the body count doesn't have to be high for you to be a real man.
Y'all, this is a dope conversation, guys. This is Dr. Gail Crowder. She is on YouTube. She's on TikTok. She's on Instagram. Everybody be sure to follow. This is probably some of the most transparent conversation you were ever going to get. Everybody, please support Dr. Gail, a fantastic guest. So we got one more question for you tonight, and then we're going to wrap this up. Okay. So based off of the statistics we see, we recognize historically part of the top reasons for divorce was infidelity and money issues.
Not
in 2023, things have changed. The number one reason, based off of this particular poll, was a lack of commitment. And so what I want to ask you is, in 2023, if you could describe or, exact it, why do people struggle to love in 2023?
I think because you have so many different things that are buying for people's time, their efforts, their life, their attention. And I believe that traditional marriage no more, it seems to be that it's not appealing to a lot of people. And so a lot of people are feeling like we're just stretched. I'm stretched really thin. And so to tie myself down, roll up my sleeves, do the work, stay with this one person, struggle through this and whatever, when I can have a prep, people on social media that's hollering at me. I can have, I can reach the world with one click. All of these different kind of things, I believe, is the reason why so many people are struggling to love, but people really want love. And so it's kind of like a wheel, right? I really want love. I really want to be committed to somebody, but I have all of this world at my disposal. And if I tie myself down with this one person and they're not giving me everything that I want right now, then I can open up the door and I don't have to be committed anymore. So I can move on. And so it becomes this thing. And you and I had a conversation, now it's so easy to walk away. And then when you have celebrities that, are married 1 month and spent, $5 million on the wedding, and then 2 months later, they're walking, they're splitting away. It makes it very easy. So society says you don't have to be committed. You don't have to put in the work for love. You don't have to be committed because I can just go on to the next, because so-and-so just dropped in my DM and they look cute and they said I was cute. So I can meet them now. I can get on a Zoom with them and I can vibe with them. And if I get sick of them and they're not talking my language and doing what I want to do, I can just go to the next. And so I think that as a society, social media and all of this technology, even though it can bring us all together, it can make it very hard for relationships to want to be committed. That's my take on things.
Absolutely excellent. Everybody, if you enjoying this show, the like button, hit this stream. So we're going to take a couple calls. Doctor, you got a time for a couple calls?
Yes, I do. Sure.
Everybody who joins in, we're just going to be respectful to our guest. Let's make sure our questions are clear and precise. I want to make sure I respect our guest time. The link has been dropped. Shout out to Lady Navole, who's in there moderating. Shout out to The Quiet Storm, who's moderating. Much love to everybody who's just joining the stream. We've got a guest who is in the building, a good friend of the show, Mr. Charles Smoke. He's in the building. Mr. Charles Smoke, how are you? And what would you like to add to the conversation tonight?
Hello, sir. Hello, Doc.
Hi, how are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored. Thank you.
That's good.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Simple question. I was listening to your conversation earlier, and you were speaking upon how you would like to receive the message versus listening to the message that's being given.
Mm-hmm.
How do we navigate that? Because I noticed when you were speaking, most of the things that you were talking upon on the female side was more coddled, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Well, make sure you talk to her a certain way when you're coming home from work, and not having X, Y through Z things planned for him to, orchestrate or take care of when he comes home from work. How can we communicate to a person that is not, they're receptive, but not going to take the understanding portion of what you're saying? For example, honey, you're gaining some weight. This is something that you can see, something that I can see.
Mm-hmm.
But we're supposed to candy coat how we present it versus just giving the information and being receptive to it without being holding ill regard or contempt for what was said.
Okay, so let me just explain. When I was saying it's easier to deliver a message to a woman or a man if they're gaining weight or you're not attracted to them, if you're having just regular conversations on a regular day about anything. A lot of times when a person becomes unattracted to their spouse, it's other things going on in the relationship, right? It's a breakdown of communication. They're not having sex, it's unforgiveness going on and those kind of things. So that's the reason why I said, if you're not having meaningful conversations, for you to just hit her with or him with, you didn't gain weight, I'm not attracted to you, that's going to be an explosive thing. That's the reason why I said that. Now, when it comes, and I'm not saying that you need to coddle them or not be open and honest with them, but it's a lot easier for you to tell, me, Gail, you didn't gain weight if we are, having conversations, laughing and talking, still dating, still having sex, all of those kind of things, I could receive it better than you ain't talked to me all week. And then all of a sudden you're going to say, when I pass by you, say, your butt done got big, you're fat. Right. And so that's what I'm trying to say. But if you're in a situation, and I don't know if you are, and you need to tell your wife that you're no longer attracted to her, I believe that you need to sit down and say, we've been married, whatever, or, we've been in this relationship or whatever. I still, love you, or, however you want to frame that. But I want you to know that I do need for you to get in shape, to care about yourself, not just because I want to stay, visually attracted to you, but I care about you as a person, your health, all of those different kind of things. Because again, you can't just tell somebody, you gotta put yourself in that person's situation. How are they going to receive that? And if you want to stay with them, you still love them, you don't want to kill their self-esteem so low where they can't recover from that. And they hold on to that and can't let it go. And so that's the reason why I said you got to set the stage to be able to have those conversations. But if you have not talked to your spouse and you guys are not in a good space, that is not a good place to start saying the reason why I ain't talked to you is because you're fat and out of shape and I'm not attracted to you anymore. Right? Am I making sense to you?
Complete.
Yeah.
It's just, again, it's like you try to convey what we all see.
Yes.
But again, I could try to
tell you this 100%, Charles. Your wife or whoever knows that she didn't gain weight. I can almost I can guarantee you she knows it, right?
Mm-hmm.
She knows it because her behind can't fit in some of the stuff that she used to be able to fit in 6 months ago.
Right, but we still like it. We still gonna smack it and hit it from the back. Even if she mad at me, I'm gonna hit it from the back.
Well, you go then. But again, it's nothing wrong with saying, hey, you want to go for a walk? You know what I mean? You don't even have to say those words.
I see what you mean.
If you say you want to go for a walk, let's start going for a walk. Let's walk, the neighborhood for the next 30 minutes every day or every other day. She's going to probably say, why? Because you can see I didn't gain weight. And then you can say, yeah, but I want us to get healthy together, right?
We like the weight we see. We just want it to be healthy and make this thing last throughout decades.
There you go. It's just a different way of approaching things.
So do you think if a person, a man or woman, approaches their significant other, do you truly think it's coming from a place that's not felt with sincere earnest?
Well, even though they're your spouse, people could be mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're frustrated in other areas of their life, right?
Yeah.
And so it manifests in that. Like I can get him or her for that, right? And so I don't think everybody wants to come from a mean space, but can you come from a mean space? Can it come out wrong? Can we, internalize things wrong? Absolutely. That can go with any conversation. Absolutely, any conversation.
And that's the main reason why I do not do text messages, because everything is always misconstrued.
It surely is. And I hate them too. I do. But it was a pleasure talking to you.
Ma'am, I've been waiting for a while. It's been an honor and a blessing. Sir Hale.
What's up with this, brother? I appreciate you coming up here.
Doing the chest, I'm trying to get him in. I done lost 10 pounds. I done gained 2.5 ounces in nothing. So now the gauge is trying to get her to do it along with me. Because again, I want her to be around for the rest of our lives, and I hope it's 60 plus more years, and I'm already 47. So I don't want to do this by myself.
Well, and you know what? Have that conversation. Take her, go to a park, have the conversation and say, you know what? I want us to be together to death do us part. I'm going to do my part to get healthy. I want you to do your part, and let's do it together, right? It is so many different ways that you can approach this subject and not make it just about that person. It make it about a we thing and not just a them thing.
Mhm.
And you'll see a different result, right? Because every woman, and I'm speaking, every woman really wants to stay attractive for their man. They want their man to look at them and be like, she's it, right? We really do want that. But do we become complacent? Absolutely we do. We really do. And so again, that's the reason why I do the work that I do. That's the reason why I created Bringing Sexy Back to the Marriage, because a lot of times we have our kids, we work in our jobs, we cooking, we cleaning, we have having sex with y'all because we're tired. And so that's the reason why I created that conference, because I understand what it is to be overwhelmed and have nothing left to give Gil at the end of the night. And I didn't want that to continue to happen to not just myself, but other women.
Thank you for your message.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Everybody in the chat, just type Charles Smoke. He's in the building. As always, appreciate you, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome. Anytime. Yeah, that was dope. Yeah, that's one of our one of the supporters of the show. Really good guy. Really, really good guy. I mean, shout out to Take Heed to the Message. She says, my king, and this is another great content creator. Amazing.
Okay.
She says, my king was kind about telling me to lose weight. So I understand we talk together daily and talk. So I think there's a couple things here. Most
That's
men
the reason why but they have a conversation, so she was able to receive that. You heard her say they talk daily. If you just are not talking about anything, and like I said, general things, and then you go to your spouse and say you're fat and out of shape, I'm not attracted to you, that's not going to work.
You know something, doctor, as you were saying that, it made me think of maintenance. I think a lot of people, we forget that it takes maintenance. And just because a person knows you, sometimes you have to realize they still have feelings as well. So how you say something makes a difference.
Absolutely.
And so consistent communication, it keeps you connected to their intentions. So even if it does come off strong, at least you can say, well, you know it's coming from a good place. So I think that's a good point in there.
Yeah.
Or anybody else, I'm gonna leave the lines open for 2 more minutes. Anybody else want to call in and get your questions answered? Dr. Gail, this has been a fantastic show, and I think we're addressing some questions that a lot of people have.
Thank you. So, like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully that I opened the eyes to some people, and gave a woman's perspective on some things. And again, it has been an absolute pleasure. It really has. It really has.
Yes, so guys, the lines are open for another 1 minute and 30 seconds. But before we wrap up, doctor, how do people connect with you? And do you provide counseling, coaching? Like, what services do you offer?
I offer, coaching, marriage coaching, individually and in couples. Counseling. I am a licensed sexologist, so I deal with men who are dealing with erectile dysfunction. I deal with women who are having problems achieving orgasm. I deal with couples who are struggling, to find meaningful sex lives. I do so many different things, but if you want a free consultation, I offer a 15-minute free consultation. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to give you one tool, a strategy. You can go to gailcrowder.com. You can find me on all my social media platforms at Gail Crowder. And again, gailcrowder.com. If you would like to have a conversation with me, I do have a YouTube channel on here as well. I do a thing called every Tuesday called Wife Chat, which I have men that send me questions and I answer them anonymously. I just tell them, where the person's from. I answer the question. And so again, I am here to serve. Like I said, I've been doing this for 20 years now, and I am truly, truly blessed to do what I love every single day. And so if you're in a relationship and you need some help, I'm your girl. And let me just tell you, I will never take anything. I don't coach or counsel anything that I have not conquered in my own marriage or my own life. I will send you to someone else. Okay.
And if you guys don't understand that, that's integrity from coaching. So I respect that. So Dr. Gail, this has been an amazing show, and I'm really glad that we had an opportunity to talk. If you could give couples who are struggling to love a bit of advice, what advice would you give them?
I would tell them that love is something that you have to work at every single day. And if the person that you fell in love with is still the same person, they have just had different life experiences. And if you can begin to communicate effectively and get on the same page, you can learn to love them till eternity. And that is for real. If you can learn to communicate effectively and get to the root cause of what has changed in the relationship, you can get through absolutely anything.
Dr. Gail, there's a woman on here who's career oriented. She's focused on the money. She's come from a background where her mothers and her aunties and grandmothers have told her to chase the money. Don't you worry about no man, but she wants to be loved. What would you say to her?
I would tell her that money does not buy you love, and that you can't take the money with you. So find true love, and just like you go to work to make the money, take some time for you. Know what you want, go for it, and find love as quickly as possible. Because again, you probably already had someone in your life that wanted to be with you, to love you unconditionally, but you put your career first, and nobody wants to die alone. You was created to have someone in your life to love you.
Dr. Gail, you have been a stellar guest, and I'm not sure why we haven't talked sooner, but I'm so glad we did. And I hope to do this again in the future.
I would love to come back, and thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Everybody in the chat, please just type in Dr. Crowder. Much love to you. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yo, this was a dope show. This is a dope show. Why are we doing shows like this? It's because the tide is changing. And although we have some very serious topics that we have to address and we have to discuss, we've got to make some room for love and preparing to be together. And I hope tonight's show that you guys felt that. I hope that you guys got some truth. And what you heard tonight wasn't just conjecture. It was real experience. So a shout out, much love to Dr. Gail Crowder, who came 36 years of marriage experience, 20 years coaching. She came here with some real life examples. And I hope that you guys took something from that and apply it to your own relationships. I'll say this and then I'm gone. I believe in love still. I know that you guys hear me talk, and if you guys look at my content, I come off real strong. You know what I mean? That's just because I'm passionate about what I do. But I believe in love. I believe that two people who want to come together and be together need the tools it takes to not only be with somebody, but to make being with you worthwhile. And I think, sadly, a lot of individuals who are in relationships today, we didn't get a good examples from baby boomers because they were trying to be busy protecting and providing for us. And so we didn't get a chance. A lot of us didn't have healthy examples. And so we've taken that trauma and we've kind of insulated ourselves from potential hurt, which is why we're getting married later and why we're quicker to leave. I think that conversations like this, where we get tools, where you hear people who've been through the same thing that you've been through. Like, y'all ain't the only one who having trouble in the bedroom. Y'all are not the only person when you're dealing with somebody who's crazy. But what do you do when you're in that situation? Like, what steps do you take to make sense of it? And then the steps you take to get out of it and then become better from it. That's the conversations we must have. Because as long as you're human and you're with somebody, neither one of you are perfect and you're going to have troubles. So again, shout out to the doctor. I appreciate her. Much love. I'm going to take 1 second. He's a super chatter, and so I got to bring him up. And Dr. Crowder, if it's okay, if you got a second, can I bring you back up as well? Yeah, I'll bring you back up. So yeah, Andrew Walker, I haven't seen this man in 13 years, is back in the chat. I'm going to bring him up, and let's see what he has to say. Again, shout out to Take Heed to the Message. Thanks for being here. Bravo with Sheila. Good to see you. Dr. Crowder, I'm going to bring you back up, and then I'm going to bring up Andrew Walker. Andrew, how are you, sir?
How you doing? I was listening to you guys. Loved your show, Doctor. I'm quite impressed with you. I have a serious question to ask you, and it's pertaining to age gaps in relationships and how to deal with it and how to really engage and what's a realistic gap that can be functional.
Okay.
You know?
Yes.
Because men tend to get settled at an older age these days because of the way society is. And if we're healthy and virile and want to have children, we can't necessarily date people that are older because they're not able to do that. So what's your take on this, and how should we realistically approach this?
Well, I want, when it comes to age gaps and dating and wanting to create families and stuff like that, there's two trains of thoughts, and I deal with a lot of this in my practice, right? The man wants, she wants to have a baby, he wants to give it to her, he's settled, but she is still young and wanting to do those things. The thing that I see mostly with age gaps, especially when it's an older man and younger women, is that you a lot of times become and take on a father role instead of being a husband or a significant other, right? Because the thing is that there's such a gap, and the thinking is very immature, right? And you're expecting this person to have life lessons and life, like you have experienced, and it can become very, very hard because you're wanting to watch TV, and she's wanting to go hang out and dance, right? And
Yeah.
so those kind of things need to be addressed. They need to be thought of, because when you get into a marriage, right, it's not like you're just dating that person. And a lot of times, especially these younger women that are looking for security, they will get into a relationship. They will act as if they're okay with staying at home on a Friday and a Saturday night and relaxing with you. But as soon as they get married, then they become, oh my God, he's treating me like I'm two. I want to go out with my girlfriends. I want to hang out. I want to drink. I want to do all of these things. And that's not how it started off. So I think that with the age gap relationship, you have to be very careful. You have to be very, very careful, and you have to know what you're looking for and make sure that you ask the right questions. Can it work? Absolutely. But I find that especially with this new generation and with an older man, with a younger woman, there is a lot of things that have to be hashed out, because you end up becoming more of a father figure to them than not. And that's just in my practice. I can't hear.
Yep. So Andrew, yeah, you're on mute. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, that was powerful, but very honest, because those are things we have to think about these days,
Yes.
And, life, we can't predict life and scenarios in this world. Like you said, people's attention spans are skewed,
Yes.
So I appreciate the candid and honest answer. It's just, these days it's just plain and simple hard,
Yeah,
It's
and
just,
a lot of younger women are looking for older men because they're looking for security, they're looking for stability, they're looking for all of those things. But when they really get that, then they're saying, oh, he when I was dating him, he was fun, but when I married him, he wants to turn into my father, and I still have life to live. I still want to experience these things that he was able to experience, and now he's telling me, you don't need to do that, you don't need to go there, you don't need to do those things because it's not good for you. But he already experienced them. I haven't experienced them, and I want to experience them. So it causes a lot of those different kind of dynamics. So again, you have to be very careful with the person that you choose that are, with the age gap situation. That like I said, I've dealt with that quite a bit here lately in my practice. And do they make it? Some do, and most of them don't, because again, she or he is not willing to not live those and get those life experiences that the older partner already has experienced and been able to sow their wild oats, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree, and I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So Andrew, did you get your question answered?
Oh, and then some. It was very well answered. That's why my loquacious self is quiet. You got me speechless. So I appreciate the talk, Doc.
Okay,
Amen.
you're welcome. You're
Mr.
welcome.
Andrew.
And thank you.
Mr. Andrew, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here. It's been a long time.
Sir. All right, brother. Take care.
Much
Thank you,
love,
ma'am.
much love to you. Okay, Dr. Crowder, I appreciate you. We're going to wrap up the show. We'll wrap on this note, the quiet storm, and we need to make a point of this. If you are married, you need to be making love as much as possible with the person you are with. You need to be making love as much as possible with the person you're with. Doctor, do you have any advice on couples who are struggling?
My thing is that, you know, if you're struggling in sex, right, that's just the surface. What is the root cause that is keeping you from connecting, you know, sexually with your spouse? And a lot of people want to just focus in on we're not having sex, but what led you to that thing? Like I said, you just didn't get up one day and couldn't fit those pants. You just didn't get up one day and you guys quit having sex. What led to that? Until you get to the root cause, you're going to continue to struggle. So always search for the root cause of why something is happening. That is just, so most people want to just focus in, she not having sex, he not having sex, or whatever. It's a root cause because, again, you was having sex before you got married. You was having sex at one point in time. It just doesn't stop. It has to be a root cause.
Everybody, Dr. Crowder, y'all show some love in the chat.
Thank you so much.
Very much love, Dr. Crowder. Yo, this has been a dope show. We're about to get out of here. One of the things, guys, you know, I'm going to be out in Atlanta next month at the Black Manosphere Conclave. You guys, I'm going to play this this quick video for all the men who want to network with other men who believe in marriage, or who at least want to get advice if you have to get, you know, a divorce, prenuptials, image, technology. I mean, you name it. We're going to be talking about this from experts, from professionals who've been doing what they've been doing for years. So, men, if this is you, if you want to expand your territory and develop yourself as a man, the Black Manosphere Conclave is where you want to be this September. These are just the lineup of some of the speakers who are going to be there. It's going to be a phenomenal time. I want to make sure that we get as many men there as possible. As a matter of fact, I think the tickets, we're about to hit capacity. So if you guys are interested and you know this is for you, do not delay. Make sure you register at the Black Manosphere. Go to the website and make sure you do this. Ladies as well, don't wait for your man to do this. If this is something that you know he would benefit from, make sure you sign him up. This is going to be life-changing. So again, you guys meet me out there September. We're going to have a wonderful time. Well, again, it's been a dope show. Much love to all of you guys. The tide is changing. And now we're going to start having a little bit more balanced conversations because we have to start thinking about our future, and we got to deal with our traumas, and we got to figure out how to love each other again. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Everybody go support Dr. Gail Crowder. She's already over 100,000 some followers on TikTok, 30-some thousand on YouTube. She's blown up all over the place. Let's patronize, let's show some love, but most importantly, let's build better relationships. It's been a dope show. Until next time, much love, everybody. We'll talk with you guys again soon. Peace.
Let it go. 얼어붙어 like whoa. 띵하고 어지러워. I see. 한여름에도 난 겨울. Yeah, girl, cold-blooded. Yeah, 너와 있을 때 I swear. 제가 먼저 zero 폭설한 그 children. 꿈에도 I wasn't aware. 나만 빼고 넌 모두에게 참 친절해. 내 신감이 들어 단판이 태도 머릿속을 흔드니 ibuprofen 그만해 it's time to stop. 승부욕을 자극하는 style. Yeah. 알면서도 마음이 자꾸 내게 가. 아마 빠져버릴까. If you want me back, I'll tell you I'm sorry. If you want me back, I'll tell you stop trying. Yeah, you got me. Let it go. 얼어붙어 like whoa. 띵하고 어지러워. I see. 한여름에도 넌 겨울. Yeah, girl, you're cold-blooded. Yeah, girl, you're cold-blooded. Yeah. Girl, you're cold-blooded. Girl, you're cold-blooded. I'm like frozen 뭐야 모든 stress은 gotta let it go 했어 소개팅 데이팅 어플 다 깔아도 보았어 반대가 끌린대 opposites attract Don't know about me and you, yeah we fell into the cracks Yeah 갖고 너네 no cap 왜 나는 보여 what's happening 객관적일 수가 없이 이미 game white flag and wave it fast Yeah I'm leaving back but 말은 don't 너만 보면 나도 내 맘 I don't know 이건 love a relationship이 헷갈리기만 해 girl I'll tell you I'm sorry if you want me back I'll tell you stop trying Yeah, yeah, you got me Let it go 얼어붙어 like whoa 어지러워 I see 한여름에 더 녹여 가까이 cold-blooded Let it go 얼어붙어 like whoa 어지러워 I see 한여름에 더 녹여 가까이 cold-blooded 가까이 cold-blooded Yeah, yeah, yeah 가까이 cold-blooded 가까이 cold-blooded Yeah, 가까이 cold-blooded